This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part 2. Today we're diving into Not the One He Loved. Let's go. Chapter 1. 5 years into our relationship, I brought my boyfriend, Gabriel, home for the Christmas holidays to meet my family. At the grand family dinner, my relatives couldn't stop singing the praises of the man who had once been his state's valedictorian. But then, my single cousin, Cora, suddenly gagged and ran from the table, clearly fighting a wave of morning sickness. My aunt, her mother, was mortified. She raised her hand, ready to slap her. "You're an Ivy League graduate," she shrieked. "How could you let yourself get knocked up by God knows who?" Cora didn't say a word, just sobbed uncontrollably. That's when Gabriel stepped forward, catching my aunt's hand midair. "Don't," he said, his voice firm. "Don't scare her. The baby's mine." He pulled Cora behind him, shielding her as he led her out of the room, leaving a trail of stunned silence in his wake. He never even gave me a second glance. The ballroom was a whirlwind of noise. Some people were crying, others were shouting. My mind was completely blank. Just minutes ago, Gabriel had been holding my hand, toasting my parents and elders. My relatives were all fawning over him, calling him brilliant, successful, and yet so humble. Now, under the glare of every eye in the room, he had walked out with my cousin, Cora, leaving me to clean up the mess. I knew it, one of my aunts sneered. "I always said our plain little Vivi couldn't possibly land a guy like that." What a joke. "So, does this mean Vivi stole Cora's boyfriend?" another whispered. "I mean, Cora's pregnant. How could she do that to her own cousin?" Well, Gabriel and Cora both went to top-tier universities. They always did make a more fitting pair. Growing up, everyone had always favored Cora. She was prettier, smarter, and her side of the family had more money. In a situation like this, no one was ever going to take my side. "Vivi, sweetie, what on earth just happened?" My mother's hand, cold as ice, found my wrist. I turned to look at her, but my eyes were drawn past her to my father. His face had gone a horrifying shade of purple. With a sickening thud, he collapsed back into his chair. Dad, what's wrong?" The last shred of his composure, his carefully maintained dignity, had finally been torn to shreds in front of everyone. From the ambulance to the hospital, my mother clutched my hand and wept. But I couldn't afford to shed a single tear. I ran back and forth, handling admissions, filling out forms, my mind numb. It wasn't until Dad was out of the emergency room and settled in a private ward that the reality of it all began to sink in. I checked my phone. The only new messages were automated debit alerts from my bank for the hospital fees. Not a single word from Gabriel. Taking a deep breath, I headed to the pharmacy to pick up Dad's prescriptions. And that's when I saw him, standing in the hallway, talking to a doctor I recognized as one of his old college friends. "Doctor, man, I never took you for the shotgun wedding type," the friend said, clapping Gabriel on the shoulder. Gabriel's gaze was distant. "The baby isn't mine," he said quietly. I couldn't stand to see her judged like that." "Then why are you here in the middle of the night, getting her admitted for observation?" "I thought you were with her cousin, Vivi. Weren't you two about to get engaged?" Gabriel just hummed in agreement, a soft, non-committal sound. "I'm worried your girlfriend is going to lose it?" "So you're spending Christmas Eve with Cora, and you're not worried your girlfriend is going to lose it?" "Cora's well-being comes first. Once she's okay, I can relax," Gabriel said, his voice laced with a strange sort of resolve. "Besides, I'm going to marry Vivi. I'll have the rest of my life to spend with her." "What's one night?" the doctor sighed, shaking his head. "I can't believe you're still carrying that torch for her. After all this time, does she even appreciate what you do for her?" "I don't need her to. As long as she's okay, that's enough," Gabriel murmured, more to himself than to his friend. "Being part of her family, being able to look after her, that's all I've ever really wanted." A memory flashed in my mind. The first time Cora introduced me to Gabriel. He was already a legend at our high school, the valedictorian everyone still talked about years after he'd graduated. Cora had playfully pushed me toward him. "This is my cousin, Vivi. She's your biggest fan." I was so busy blushing I didn't notice that every time Gabriel spoke, his eyes never left Cora. He asked me out not long after that. All this time, I thought it was love at first sight. I never realized I was just his way of staying close to her. "Gabriel," a soft voice called. It was Cora, pale and frail in a hospital gown. Gabriel rushed to her side instantly, his voice softening. "What are you doing out of bed? It's freezing out here. You were gone for so long." I got scared. He immediately shrugged off his expensive wool coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. Let's get you back. We can't have you catching a chill. Just be good, let the doctors run their tests, and if everything looks good tomorrow, you can go home. Cora leaned into his embrace, and for a moment, they looked just like a devoted, loving couple. My voice trembled when I finally found it. Gabriel. Chapter 2. When Gabriel turned and saw me, the warmth on his face vanished, replaced by a cold mask of irritation. He strode over, blocking my path. Cora needs to rest. Don't you dare start trouble with her. I'll explain everything to you later. He actually thought I'd come to the hospital to confront Cora. Explain? I shot back, my voice rising. What is there to explain? My father is here because of you. He had a. Don't make a scene, he snapped, his patience gone. Your cousin is in a fragile state. The doctor said her pregnancy is high risk right now. Did you really have to follow us here to cause more drama? Can't you be reasonable for once? Gabriel, Cora's weak voice drifted over. Don't be so harsh with Vivi. Please, just explain things to her patiently. She must be feeling so hurt after we just left like that. Her words were like a magic spell, instantly smoothing the sharp edges of his anger. I'll explain it all another time, he said to me, his tone softening slightly. It's not what you think. And don't worry, I'm still going to marry you. Just, go home for now. So that's all it took. A single sentence from Cora, and he was gentle with me again. How pathetic. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked away. I spent the night by my father's bedside. A message from Gabriel finally came through. Vivi, please don't worry. The baby isn't mine. Your cousin got involved with a real jerk, and I can't let her face the fallout alone. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I promise I'll make it up to you. Once this is all over, we'll get our marriage license. We'll go to Italy for our honeymoon, just like we planned. And when we get back to New York, I'll sign over 1% of my company's stock to you. I switched off my phone, a bitter laugh stuck in my throat. In his world, a promise of marriage and a payout could smooth over any wound. He couldn't bear to see Cora face the gossip, so he'd simply redirected it all onto me. And now my father was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from a heart attack. What good were apologies and compensation now? Vivi, my dad was awake, looking as though he'd aged a decade overnight. I knelt by his bed, gripping his hand tightly. You two should just end it, he rasped. A sharp pain lanced through my chest. Even after everything, his first thought was for me, worried I was with the wrong man. Okay, Dad, I whispered, forcing a calm I didn't feel. I'll listen to you. Don't you worry about me. The next day, my mom arrived at the hospital, and almost immediately, her phone rang. It was Aunt Carol. Mom stepped out of the room to take the call, and I followed her into the main lobby. Gabriel is such a dear. My aunt's voice chirped through the phone. He gave us such a wonderful surprise, showing up this morning with a case of that expensive scotch. Then her tone shifted. Say, sis, you know all those high-end wellness tonics you bought for Vivi? How about you send some over for Cora? She's so drained right now. It's not like Vivi needs them anymore, right? I saw the corners of my mom's eyes turn red, tears welling up. Before she could break, I snatched the phone from her hand. Aunt Carol, I said, my voice bright and cheerful. You're right, expectant mothers need the best. I have a friend in Switzerland who sources these amazing artisanal supplements. I'll send you her contact info in a bit. Hey, why are you being so stingy? I hung up before she could finish. The nerve of that woman. Mom fumed, her face pale with anger. Her daughter steals your boyfriend, and she has the audacity to ask me for gifts? I wrapped an arm around her trembling shoulders. It's okay, Mom, don't be angry. No one stole him. I'm the one who doesn't want him anymore. As the words left my mouth, my eyes met a pair of cold, familiar ones. It was Gabriel, standing at the hospital entrance, his arms laden with shopping bags. Chapter 3. What is he doing here? Mom whispered urgently. Tell him to leave. Your father doesn't want to see him. Gabriel's gaze swept over us, his tone laced with disapproval. Vivi, why did you bring your mother here? Cora needs to rest. You two shouldn't be disturbing her. I glanced at the bags in his hands. Boxes of premium supplements, prenatal vitamins, specialty teas. It clicked. He wasn't here to visit my father. He was here to dote on Cora. I held my mom's shaking shoulder. Don't worry, I said, loud enough for him to hear. We're not here to see Cora. As I turned to lead my mom away, Gabriel's voice stopped me. What did you say just now? Who is it you don't want anymore? The last thing I wanted was to fight with him in front of my mother. I spun a quick lie. A puppy, I said breezily. My mom saw one she liked, but I was afraid it wouldn't train well. So I said no. Gabriel frowned, seemingly oblivious to the barb in my words. Just take your mother home, he said dismissively. My mom, worried about me, insisted I go home and get some real sleep. But instead of sleeping, I found myself wrapped in my duvet, my thumb hovering over Cora's profile. I opened her Instagram. She'd posted a photo of a signed contract for a luxury postpartum recovery suite, a bouquet of white roses placed artfully beside it. I'd only seen that place in celebrity magazines. A famous actress had spent hundreds of thousands on her stay there. The caption read, "All the panic, all the helplessness, you ended it in a single moment. With you here, what is there to be afraid of?" Gabriel had certainly spared no expense. I scrolled down through the comments, a flood of congratulations from friends and relatives. And right at the bottom, a comment from Gabriel himself, "I'll always be here." He'd never made a promise like that to me. I remembered a time I had the flu, my fever spiking to 104. Delirious, I'd called him on his business trip. A few hours later, he was there, having caught the first flight back to take me to the hospital. After my fever broke, he scolded me, his face tight with annoyance. "You're a grown woman, Vivi. You have to learn to take care of yourself. I can always be by your side." At the time, I thought he was just worried, speaking harshly out of concern. Now I understand. He was just telling me the truth. His promises were meant for someone else. Chapter 4. My finger tapped the screen, liking the post. I added a comment, "Congratulations." Then I closed the app. Almost immediately, a text from Gabriel lit up my screen. "Don't be passive-aggressive. Delete that comment, now. I already promised you yesterday that we'd get married after Cora has the baby. What the hell is your problem?" I ignored him and turned off the notification. A moment later, my phone rang. It was Cora. "Vivi, I was so happy to see your comment," she began, her voice syrupy sweet. "I was worried it would take you a long time to forgive us." She sighed dramatically. "Gabriel has been so worn out lately, worrying about you on top of taking care of me. It breaks my heart to see him like this. You should really try to be more understanding." A bitter laugh escaped me. My boyfriend was running himself ragged for her, and I was the one who wasn't understanding. "Sorry," I said flatly. Fresh out of understanding. "Oh, Vivi," she sighed again. "It's my fault. It's all my fault. If I had never introduced you to Gabriel, the baby's father wouldn't be in such a difficult position today." Her tone shifted, a hint of a smile in her voice. "To be honest, I was always a little surprised Gabriel went for you. You two are just from different worlds." I faintly heard a man's voice in the background, asking who she was talking to. The line went dead. The baby's father? Cora had called Gabriel the baby's father. My mind went into a tailspin. I faintly heard a man's voice in the background, asking who she was talking to. The line went dead. The baby's father? Cora had called Gabriel the baby's father. My mind went into a tailspin. Gabriel had lied to me. Chapter 5. After my dad was discharged, I returned to New York alone. While Gabriel was still away, I went to the apartment we shared. I packed up my clothes, my books, every trace of my existence, and moved back into my old dorm room on campus. A few days later, Gabriel finally noticed. His call came late at night. "Gotten brave, have we?" he said, his voice laced with condescending amusement. "Running away from home without a word. That's not my home." My cold tone must have registered, because he tried to soften his. "Vivi, come on, don't be like this. I just got back. I haven't even eaten. Come home and make me some noodles?" His work schedule was erratic, and he often came home late and starving. He'd developed stomach problems because of it, so I had gotten into the habit of waiting up for him. No matter how late, there was always a bowl of hot noodles waiting. "It's not my home anymore," I repeated. There was a pause. "Why can't you be more gentle, like your cousin?" I laughed, a dry, humorless sound, and hung up the phone. I was just a stand-in. How could I ever compare to the real thing? A few days later, I got a call from Professor Davies, my faculty advisor. She told me there was a problem with the student life coordinator position she had recommended me for. "I don't know who would do this," she said, her voice troubled, "but someone sent an anonymous email to the dean's office. It's an official complaint, accusing you of moral misconduct, and claiming you're unfit for the role." When I pressed her for details, she hesitated. "The letter, it says your cousin is pregnant, and that you've been trying to seduce her partner. Vivi, it's not that I don't believe in you, but for this to come out right before the deadline, have you made an enemy of some?" The air left my lungs. My heart felt like a block of ice. Cora was pregnant, that much was true. And Gabriel would never step up to clarify that he was my boyfriend. A degree from a state college like mine didn't make finding a good job easy. I'd fought tooth and nail for this campus position, pushing my GPA to the top of my major, doing endless grunt work for the department. And now it was all about to be destroyed by a single, anonymous letter. I couldn't accept it. Professor Davies suggested I gather all my academic awards and commendations and submit them as of today. I raced over to Gabriel's apartment to retrieve the certificates I'd left there. But my fingerprint wouldn't open the door. The keypad code had been changed, too. I called Gabriel, again and again, more than a dozen times, each one going straight to voicemail. Half an hour later, he finally called back. Chapter 6. Gabriel, can you please come home? Or just give me the new code? My application materials are in there, and if I don't get them today, I could lose the campus job. Vivi, you're home? Wait for me, I'm on my way. But he never came. Professor Davies called me several times, her voice increasingly apologetic. Finally, she delivered the bad news. The system had closed, the staff had gone home for the day. There was nothing more she could do. I sat numbly on the floor outside Gabriel's apartment until the sky was pitch black. He never showed. Around 10 o'clock, his phone finally connected when I called. But the voice that answered wasn't his. It was Cora's. Vivi, is something wrong? She asked, her tone casual. Gabriel's in the shower right now. My world tilted on its axis. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. It's nothing, I managed to choke out. I hung up, blocked his number, and took the lipstick out of my purse. On the clean white paint of his front door, I scrawled a message. So long, scumbag. On the way back to campus, I called a senior from my program who had moved to Havenport. Hey, Sarah, are you guys still looking for interns? Vivi, you should have called sooner, we just filled our last spot. But listen, a former colleague of mine just started his own company. He's desperate for good people. Want to give it a shot? Yes, absolutely. I can be in Havenport for an interview tomorrow. Sarah laughed. What happened? I tried so hard to get you to come out here for an internship, but you said you had to stay in New York for your boyfriend. Did he finally let you off the leash? I twisted the hem of my shirt. We broke up, and the campus job fell through. Hey, she said, her voice instantly kind. Out with the old, in with the new. His loss. The next day, I was on a train to Havenport. I went straight from the station to the address Sarah had given me. She'd told me her ex-colleague sold pearls, so I was picturing a middle-aged woman in a small, cluttered shop. I was wrong. The company was located in a sleek, modern startup incubator. And the person who interviewed me wasn't a handsome young man with kind, intelligent eyes. Maybe it was Sarah's recommendation, but the interview was surprisingly relaxed. He offered me the internship on the spot. Within a few days, I had rented a small apartment and settled into my new life in Havenport. Sarah's former colleague, my interviewer, was named Leo. He was the founder and CEO of this small but mighty company. The office was young, energetic, and everyone seemed to be a master of multiple trades. I quickly realized how little my university education had prepared me for the real world. I felt like I was drowning in industry jargon I'd never heard before. My only solution was to carry a notebook everywhere, scribbling down every new term and concept. At night, I'd stay up late, researching and teaching myself, trying desperately to catch up. One afternoon, after lunch, I was huddled in a quiet corner of the break room, studying my notes, when a message from my old roommate popped up. Vivi, the list for the new student life coordinators was posted. Why aren't you on it? She sent a link. I clicked on it, my heart sinking. Even though I knew it was coming, seeing it in black and white still made my nose sting. I blinked, trying to clear the blurriness from my eyes. And then a name jumped out at me. Chloe. After I was disqualified, Chloe from my year got the position? Quiet, unassuming Chloe, whose grades were completely average. Chapter 7. An unsettling thought took root in my mind. Cora had once mentioned, in passing, that Chloe was the niece of one of her senior managers. It didn't take a genius to figure out where that anonymous email came from. Cora had gone to great lengths to get me out of New York, away from Gabriel. What she didn't understand was that she didn't have to. Gabriel's heart had never belonged to me in the first place. All she ever had to do was crook her finger, and he would have come running back like a lost puppy. She didn't have to ruin my future. I let out a long sigh, a sudden chill cutting through the warm spring afternoon. My phone rang. It was my roommate, calling after I didn't reply. It's okay, you don't have to console me, I said as soon as I picked up. I already knew I wasn't getting the position. There was a stunned silence on the other end, and then a man's voice, strained and urgent. Vivi, where did you go? Vivi, what happened with the campus job? Gabriel? Vivi, please, will you unblock my number? It was a misunderstanding that day. I can explain everything. He sounded awful, his voice thick as if he had a bad cold. I've been looking for you everywhere. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? Yell at me, hit me, I don't care. Just don't disappear like this. I clutched the phone and walked toward the office exit, not wanting to disturb my colleagues. Why were you looking for me? I didn't cry, I didn't make a scene. I was a perfectly reasonable ex-girlfriend. Shouldn't you be giving me an award for that? Ex-girlfriend? You're not my ex until I agree to it. You're still my girlfriend, I scoffed. Really, Gabriel? When you were showering at Cora's place, did you still think I was your girlfriend then? He went silent. He clearly hadn't known that Cora had called me while he was in her shower. Vivi, you misunderstood, he finally said, his voice pleading. I was rushing home to see you that night, but Cora suddenly felt unwell and asked me to take her to the hospital. When I took her home later, she got sick all over my shirt. I had no choice but to take a shower at her place. You don't have to explain. I don't want to hear it. The moment I moved back to the dorm, the locks on our apartment were changed. You didn't want me coming back anyway. I didn't change them, he started, then stopped, cutting himself off. He probably realized it didn't matter. He had given Cora so much power, so many privileges, that she had used them to hurt me, again and again. Vivi, he begged, his voice low. Tell me where you are. Let me come to you, please? This is all a huge misunderstanding. We can't end things like this, not over a lie. No, thank you, said coolly. You should focus on taking care of my little nephew. After I hung up, a text came through from my roommate. Vivi, I'm so sorry. Your boyfriend has been waiting outside our dorm building for days. He looked so miserable, I felt bad for him. That's why I let him use my phone to call you. I couldn't understand Gabriel at all. Wasn't my leaving exactly what they wanted? Why was he putting on this lovesick, tragic performance for everyone to see? I took a deep breath and turned to go back to my desk, only to walk headfirst into a solid chest. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I couldn't understand Gabriel at all. Wasn't my leaving exactly what they wanted? Why was he putting on this lovesick, tragic performance for everyone to see? I took a deep breath and turned to go back to my desk, only to walk headfirst into a solid chest. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I looked up and saw Leo's face. I was so flustered I couldn't speak. Are you hurt? He asked, a concerned frown on his face. No, I'm fine. I clutched my forehead and scurried away. A little while later, the office admin came to my desk with her phone. The boss is treating us all to bubble tea. Pick what you want. She leaned in closer. Vivi, what's wrong? Your eyes are all red. Did someone bully you? Red? Really? Oh, I think an eyelash just fell in my eye. I flipped open my phone's front camera. She was right. My eyes were puffy and bloodshot. The admin patted my shoulder. Well, hurry and pick your tea. It's not every day the boss pays. I suddenly remembered the concerned look on Leo's face. He must have seen my red eyes too. God, how embarrassing. Chapter 8. I set a small goal for myself. If I could go 10 days without thinking about Gabriel, I would buy myself the necklace I'd been eyeing in my online shopping cart for months. At first, it was impossible. My mind kept drifting back to his good moments, to the promises he never kept. But soon, my life was consumed by work. The days blurred into a whirlwind of projects, research and late nights. The next time I looked at a calendar, a whole month had passed. The day the necklace arrived in the mail was the same day the marketing campaign I had spearheaded went live. I had poured everything into it, studying social media trends, pestering the design team for graphics, and staying up until dawn. But after the launch, there was nothing. Crickets. The campaign flopped. After the debriefing meeting, I felt like a deflated balloon. Seeing my gloomy face, Leo suggested I run an errand with him to pick up some new product samples. It wasn't until we were leaving that I realized he was driving me there himself. We left the congested city behind, driving for over an hour until we reached a small town surrounded by a vast network of serene, glistening lakes. We got out of the car and walked through a pearl farm. Along the way, a farmer greeted Leo warmly. Leo, you're back. And you brought your girlfriend with you this time, eh? I waited for Leo to correct him, but he just smiled and gave a non-committal, All I could do was offer the man an awkward smile, my cheeks burning as I followed a step behind Leo. While my mind was still racing, he suddenly asked, "Do you know how long it takes to create a single pearl?" I looked at my reflection in the water and shook my head, clueless. For a cultured pearl with a nucleus, the gestation period is 1 to 2 years, he explained. For a natural pearl, without a nucleus, it can take 4 to 5 years. That's so long, I murmured. Leo smiled and led me to a nearby processing facility where we selected a batch of samples. On the drive back to the city, he asked, "Do you know why I brought you out here today? To show me where the pearls come from? The production process, so I can understand our products better?" That's so long, I murmured. Leo smiled and led me to a nearby processing facility where we selected a batch of samples. On the drive back to the city, he asked, "Do you know why I brought you out here today? To show me where the pearls come from? The production process, so I can understand our products better?" He looked at me then, his gaze direct and incredibly sincere. "You're a pearl, too, Vivi. One that's still forming. You just have to give yourself time." His stare was so intense I had to look down, flustered. "No, I'm not. If I were a pearl, how could Gabriel have only ever seen Cora? Girls like her Ivy League degrees, high-powered careers, they were the pearls." "You are," Leo said, his tone firm. "You're not slow, and you work harder than anyone I know. You just need time." He gently patted my head. "If you don't believe me, just wait and see." The sudden intimacy of the gesture seemed to catch him off guard, too. Before I could react, he had turned and walked away. I'm not a child, I thought, a blush creeping up my neck. Why is he patting my head? I trailed slowly behind him. My phone buzzed. I answered without looking. It was Cora. "You're the one who broke up with him, so why can't you just let go?" she screeched, all her usual sweet composure gone. "Gabriel went to your university and raised hell, demanding they revoke Chloe's job offer. Do you have any idea that Chloe's father is my boss? If he keeps this up, my promotion is completely screwed." I was stunned. I had no idea Gabriel had found out about the anonymous letter, let alone that he would cause a scene over it. But I felt no gratitude, only annoyance. And how is that my problem? Don't think you can just sick Gabriel on them and get your job back. If this continues, it's going to blow up in everyone's faces. "You're giving me way too much credit, Cora," I said, my voice dripping with ice. "I blocked Gabriel ages ago. If you have time to call and yell at me, maybe you should spend it talking to him. He always listens to you, doesn't he?" She was probably shocked to learn that I hadn't been the one to tell Gabriel, that he'd figured it out himself. She was silent for a few seconds before her voice returned, laced with insecurity. Chapter 9. "You'd better mean that. He's a brilliant man. You're not good enough for him. Stop trying to drag him back into your life." I let out a bitter laugh and hung up. Gabriel, the brilliant Ivy League entrepreneur. Everyone thought I wasn't good enough for him, that we were from different worlds. "You're a pearl, too." Leo's words echoed in my head. I stopped walking. An idea sparked in my mind. My new campaign theme, "You, too, will become a shining pearl." Forgetting all about my anger toward Cora, I rushed back and worked through the night, drafting a new proposal. The next day, I pitched it to the team, and they loved it. We interviewed dozens of young women, sharing their stories of underestimated efforts and quiet triumphs. We wove their experiences into a new product line and a campaign for International Women's Day. This time, the pre-launch buzz was explosive. Our hashtag went viral. To celebrate, Leo gave the entire project team a generous bonus and treated us to a lavish dinner. The party planners, to liven things up, had created a mission box. Everyone had to draw a dare and complete it to get their bonus check. My dare was, of course, the impossible one: get the boss to wipe your mouth for you. For the sake of that bonus, I swallowed my pride, begged a colleague to switch seats with me, and ended up sitting next to Leo. But as soon as I sat down, my courage evaporated. What kind of monster wrote this dare? I fumed silently. They clearly want me to fail. I kept my head down, nervously shoveling food into my mouth while I tried to come up with a plan. Suddenly, Leo leaned closer. I kept my head down, nervously shoveling food into my mouth while I tried to come up with a plan. Suddenly, Leo leaned closer. "What's your mission?" he murmured, a playful glint in his eye. "You didn't switch seats just to be near me, did you?" My nerves got the best of me. I bit into a sesame-filled mochi ball too hard, and the hot filling squirted out, smearing all over my chin. Leo chuckled, quickly grabbing a napkin. He cupped my chin with one hand and gently wiped away the black sesame paste with the other. "So tense," he teased. "You're not scared of me, are you?" I stared into his eyes, completely frozen, my mind blank. A cheer erupted from around the table. Vivi, did you get the impossible dare? Oh my god, she actually did it. Leo's brow furrowed, and the pressure of his fingers on my chin increased slightly. He leaned in so only I could hear. Was this really just for a dare? I nodded dumbly, then realized my mistake and shook my head frantically. A slow, warm smile spread across his face. Then, a deep, cold voice cut through the air from behind us. Let her go. Chapter 10. Before I could even process what was happening, a hand gripped my arm, pulling me up from my seat and into a hard embrace. Stay away from my girlfriend. I stared up in disbelief. Gabriel, what are you doing here? His eyes were blazing with fury. He tightened his grip on my wrist and started dragging me toward the exit. Leo stood up, blocking his path. You're not taking her anywhere without her consent. So you're the one, Gabriel sneered, releasing me. The one who's been keeping her here, filling her head with nonsense. He let out a cruel, humorless laugh. Don't get your hopes up. Vivi and I have been together for 5 years. She doesn't just fall for anyone. His voice dropped, becoming venomous. We've slept together for 5 years. No one knows how to make her happy like I do. My hand flew up, the crack of it connecting with his cheek echoing through the silent room. The slap seemed to jolt him back to reality. I'm sorry, he stammered, his eyes wide. Vivi, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. You loved me for so long, you can't leave me, you can't. Gabriel, I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. You're right, we were together for 5 years. 5 years while you had someone else in your heart. Why should I be the one to stand by you? And in case you've forgotten, we broke up. I'm done with you. Because of him? He roared, pointing a trembling finger at Leo. Because of you. The anger and grief I'd been bottling up finally burst forth. You need to figure out who to stop running around telling people we're together. I can't take the humiliation. The baby in Cora's belly isn't mine. Vivi, don't you believe me? I just shook my head, wanting nothing more than to escape. You are my little nephew's father. But then he did something I never thought I'd see. Gabriel, proud Gabriel, fell to his knees in front of me. Vivi, I swear to you, the baby isn't mine. Nothing ever happened between me and Cora. Please, you have to believe me. Tears streamed down his face. Yes, I used to have feelings for her. But that was a long time ago. She was in trouble, and I just wanted to help her. I never, ever wanted to break up with you. I love you, Vivi. It's you I love. Chapter 11. I used to beg him for sweet words, for any sign of affection, and he would never give in. Now, he was finally saying he loved me, and the words felt like ash in my mouth. But I don't love you anymore, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. It's over, Gabriel. Let's just try to be civil about this. I used to beg him for sweet words, for any sign of affection, and he would never give in. Now, he was finally saying he loved me, and the words felt like ash in my mouth. But I don't love you anymore, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. It's over, Gabriel. Let's just try to be civil about this. No, Vivi, you're lying. You can't have stopped loving me. He grabbed the hem of my pants, his face a mess of tears and desperation. I had never seen him so broken. But I felt no pity. Only a profound sense of exhaustion. I turned and walked out of the noisy banquet hall without a backward glance. Just like he had once done to me. Gabriel didn't show up again after that night. His lawyer contacted me a few times about the company shares he'd promised me as compensation, but I never accepted them. Had to admit, he had sheltered me well in the past. During my years in New York, I'd lived a comfortable life, never worrying about rent or bills. But there was a different kind of satisfaction in making it on my own, without his protection. Now, if I wanted a piece of jewelry, I didn't have to wait for him to give it to me. If I wanted to fill my apartment with flowers, I didn't have to worry about his pollen allergies. My life in Havenport was peaceful and fulfilling. As graduation approached, I made a trip back to my old university. I heard the full story. Then Gabriel had made a huge scene, taking his complaints all the way to the president's office. In the end, Chloe's appointment was rescinded, and the scandal had even affected Cora, who was demoted and transferred to a dead-end department at her job. After graduation, I returned to Havenport for good. Instead of going back to work for Leo, I opened my own small creative studio. His strength was in the supply chain, mine was in branding and marketing. It made perfect sense for him to become my primary supplier while I built my own independent brand. On the day my studio officially opened, I took Leo out to dinner to celebrate. He clinked his glass against mine, a smile playing on his lips. So why didn't you want to stay at my company? Had to strike out on your own, huh? I didn't stiff you on the bonus, did I? I met his gaze and said, with all the seriousness I could muster, because I like you. For a split second, I saw a flicker of panic in his eyes, quickly replaced by a wide, delighted grin. Even a confession has to be a competition with you, doesn't it? You're impossible. Good thing I came prepared. He slid a small, velvet-wrapped box across the table. Inside, nestled on a bed of silk, was a magnificent Tahitian black pearl, its luster deep and iridescent. I saw it at an auction and thought of you immediately, he said, his voice soft. It's like you. It has this unique, captivating charm. You can't look away. Well, it's a good thing to come prepared, too. I presented him with my own gift, a pair of custom-designed pearl cufflinks from my studio's first collection. Lee took the gift, the smile never leaving his face. He understood. He knew I didn't want to be dependent on anyone, that I wanted a relationship of equals. That autumn, Cora's baby was born. I heard that Gabriel was by her side, helping take care of her and the newborn, but that they hadn't gotten married. Chapter 12. During a business trip to New York, I decided to stop by and see the baby. By sheer coincidence, I arrived just as a formidable-looking older woman with a shock of white hair was confronting Cora. She was not being kind. That autumn, Cora's baby was born. I heard that Gabriel was by her side, helping take care of her and the newborn, but that they hadn't gotten married. I'm taking the child, the woman said, her voice like steel. We'll know if he's a Lockwood after the paternity test. You've been hiding from us for months, shacking up with that Gabriel fellow. For all we know, the child is his. Mrs. Lockwood, I swear to you, he's your grandson. Cora pleaded. Do the test, I don't care, but he's too young to be taken from his mother. But Mrs. Lockwood was unmoved. Mr. Kent is just a friend, Cora cried, her voice cracking. He was just visiting today. We're not together. She grabbed desperately at Mrs. Lockwood's arm, terrified she wouldn't claim the baby. The older woman shook her off with a look of pure disgust. Cora, the child is one thing, you know perfectly well about another. Did you really think that by secretly giving birth, you could force your way into the Lockwood family? Mrs. Lockwood gestured sharply. Two large men in suits moved to block the car's path. Out stepped an impeccably dressed woman, stepped forward and swiftly took the baby from the bassinet. If the child is a Lockwood, she said, tossing the words over her shoulder, you will be compensated. And with that, she and her entourage were gone. Cora completely fell apart. She sank to the floor, wailing, my baby, but no one paid her any attention. Cora, get up. Don't sit on the cold floor. Gabriel rushed to her side, trying to help her up. She turned on him, her face contorted with rage, and began hitting his chest with her fists. This is all your fault. If you hadn't told everyone the baby was yours, I would already be married into the Lockwood family. Cora, I was just trying to protect you from the gossip, he said, his voice strained. I never meant to stop you from being with them. Don't tell me what you meant. If you didn't mean it, why were you always hovering around me like some pathetic stray dog? Now everything is ruined. They took my baby, and they're never going to give him back. Gabriel froze, a muscle twitching in his jaw. He clenched his fists at his sides, his shoulders trembling with a silent, suppressed fury. Cora had planned her every move with meticulous care, but in the end, she was no match for the cunning of a seasoned matriarch like Mrs. Lockwood. Chapter 13. Cora's son was, in the end, taken abroad by the Lockwood family. They gave her a substantial sum of money, but not the family name. A few months later, a shocking announcement made the rounds. Cora and Gabriel were engaged. I had no intention of going, but Cora insisted, calling me multiple times. The engagement party was filled with the same relatives from that disastrous Christmas dinner. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. Everyone offered hollow, polite compliments to Gabriel. My Aunt Carol clung to his arm, gushing, "You're such a good boy, Gabriel. You've always taken such good care of our Cora." Cora looked bloated and pale, the stress having clearly taken its toll. But she leaned against Gabriel's side, a look of placid security in her eyes. My mom, worried about me, gave me a look that said I could leave whenever I wanted. I just found a quiet corner and started texting Leo. Selfie.jpg, babe, look at me. Am I handsome? Babe, talk to me. Tell me I'm the man you love most in this world. I couldn't help but smile. He was a cool, collected CEO in public, but in private, he was a clingy puppy. Yes, you are. Selfie.jpg. Babe, look at me. Am I handsome? Babe, talk to me. Tell me I'm the man you love most in this world. I couldn't help but smile. He was a cool, collected CEO in public, but in private, he was a clingy puppy. Yes, you are. Suddenly, Gabriel stood up and tapped his glass. The room fell silent. A few months ago, he began, I stood in this very room, ready to offer a toast to my elders. My head snapped up. Our eyes met across the room. He continued, his gaze locked on mine. That day, due to some complications, I left in a hurry. I've spent every day since then wondering, if I hadn't been so impulsive, if I hadn't left like that, would I have lost the person I truly love? What are you talking about? Cora hissed, tugging at his sleeve. Gabriel didn't even look at her. His eyes were only for me. For months, I have been drowning in regret. Regret for not seeing what was in my own heart sooner. Regret for not protecting the one person I should have protected above all else. So today, I stand here to ask one question. Vivi, he said, his voice ringing with emotion, I will make up for every wrong you've suffered. I will work to fulfill every dream you ever shared with me. Will you give me a chance to finish that toast we never got to make? Will you let me become your family? The room exploded into chaos. Gabriel, are you insane? Cora shrieked. Did you throw this entire engagement party just to humiliate me in front of Vivi? Gabriel let out a cold laugh. Cora, I treated you like you were the most important person in the world. You treated me like a backup plan, like a dog. You used my feelings to hurt the person I love most. This isn't humiliation. This is what you deserve. Aunt Carol lunged at me, her hands like claws, ready to tear at my hair. You bitch. It's all your fault. You ruined everything for my Cora. But my mom stepped in front of me, shoving her back. Open your damn eyes and okay. This is their drama. It has nothing to do with our Vivi. Another aunt scurried over to Aunt Carol, whispering that the engagement lay off and she wanted her gift money back. At that, Aunt Carol collapsed onto the floor and began to wail. Cora, you useless girl. How could I be in front of my father? Through the chaos, Gabriel made his way to my parents. He dropped to his knees being cursed with a daughter like you. My life is ruined. Dad, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I was a fool, and I caused you so much pain. Yell at me, do whatever you want, just please, find it in your heart to forgive me. My father looked at me, a silent question in his eyes. I gave him my answer. If you don't want to forgive him, Dad, then don't. My father's face hardened. Don't you dare call me Dad, he said, his voice laced with contempt. I'd be ashamed. I linked my left arm through my father's and my right through my mother's, and together, we walked out of the chaos. My phone buzzed with a new message from Leo. Why such a short reply? Did the food arrive? Are you ignoring me? When are you going to take me home to meet your parents? I smiled as I typed my reply. We'll see how you behave. The sounds of crying and shouting from the banquet hall faded behind us. That chapter of my life, a story of misplaced love, was finally closed. Leaving the wrong person behind, I learned that I was worthy of love. My phone buzzed with a new message from Leo. Why such a short reply? Did the food arrive? Are you ignoring me? When are you going to take me home to meet your parents? I smiled as I typed my reply. We'll see how you behave. We walked out of the chaos. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The sounds of crying and shouting from the banquet hall faded behind us. That chapter of my life, a story of misplaced love, was finally closed. Leaving the wrong person behind, I learned that I was worthy of true love. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.